Hey Metal Rules, this is Dewulf, and I'm here to talk to you about the Wring. The Wring is my musical project band that I started back in 2015. We formed a band of local musicians here in Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, Northern Ontario. And I wrote a bunch of demos and gave them to some local guys, good players, great guys, a lot of fun. We learned them, jammed them out, we recorded them, and created a record. First record. And we did some shows. We opened for Anvil, Diamond Head, which was a real treat, Dead Daisies, a few others. A lot of fun. And I would call it a great proof of concept because the material translates very, very well live. I was very happy about that. But the interest was not as it should, I guess, and kind of lost the players in the band. But I still had lots of energy, creative energy, I guess, and lots more material to get out to the world. So I moved on to the second project, Project Cipher, which is the new record that just released May 28th, 2021. And it's been a great experience having it out there. I used the services of John Asher from Asher Media here in Canada. He's in Montreal, but just amazing help and a great guy, and seems to believe in the music and got it out there for me. And you know, the response all around the world, like have some new friends in Italy and France and the UK and all over the place. It's very cool to get it out that far and wide, and it just released, so I don't know what that's gonna bring, but been a lot of fun so far for sure. What drives me to do this is the need to do it. I think artists do what they need to do. Painters paint and musicians make music, and that's what I do here in this room among my Marshall amps and guitars and whatnot. It's what I do, and it's what I love to do. So that's what I do, and I'm always very conscious of how I present my music or how I approach the writing of my music, in that I try and create something that I've never heard before. And that's a tall order because I have thousands of albums, and I'm a huge fan of all kinds of things, metal and otherwise, but mostly metal, I would say. And to try and create something original is not easy these days because it's all been done. But I like to try anyways. And you know, you may hear my influences in the songs, and you might not, but they're there, they're hidden, I hope. But it's a need that I have to fulfill to get my music out there. So that's what drives me to do this. And you know, it's been an awful lot of fun. The band name, The Wring with a W. So when we got together to make the first record, we didn't really have a name, and it's really hard to come up with an original name. Probably harder than writing songs. Like, I think an original name is very hard. You Google anything, and you know, somebody in Tucson, Arizona is, you know, a couple of kids in the basement took it or whatever, but you can't then because the Facebook or whatever else is all gone. So, you know, we struggled with lists and lists of names, but I had written a song for the first album called The Wring, and you know, the song is about that sort of spooky, ominous feeling that you have when you're sort of up late at night waiting for a phone call or something that you know is going to be very bad news, and you're sitting there waiting. And there's the song, I think, you know, captures that ominous feeling that a person would have. And you know, as we were muddling through the name process, it just all of a sudden there it was, and it seemed so obvious. So the name of the band became The Wring, and I like it, and it's cool and short and unique, and I think there was a band in the 60s that had something like that, but I don't know. But anyways, seems to work right now. So that's where the name came from. Now, the newest album, Project Cipher, I showed you the cover, is the culmination, I guess, of me wanting to keep this thing going and to get my music to the world. So I write the songs. I wrote the songs for the first one. You know, we had a little collaboration because we used to jam all the time. But in this situation, and particularly with COVID, right? So everyone is at home and no one's really doing much, you know, in the way of, personal interaction. So what I did was I started to think about how I would make this music. And, you know, I have the ability here. I play a little bass. I'm a terrible singer, but I do it anyways. And I have the ability to create drum tracks, you know, digitally, basically, not loops, not MIDI drums or anything like that. It's real loops. But so I got in contact with the bass player from the first Wring record, Jason Henrie, who's amazing bass player, amazing guy, very talented. And he's also very connected in the social media world to all kinds of musicians. And it's, you know, I'm not really a social media person, but I did, you know, was fascinated by his involvement in that and how he was able to, you know, reach out to virtually anybody. So he says, if you need drums are critical, you know, a critical starting point for any record, right? So he said, well, let me reach out to a fella. His name is Thomas Lang. And if you Google Thomas Lang, it's mind-blowing. Like, this guy is, you know, he has videos with 10 million views, and, you know, he's world-renowned. He's done some unbelievable stuff, and you know, it shrinks the world when you reach out to somebody like this. So Jason made the introduction to Thomas. I sent him my demos, and he liked them, and he said, sure, I'd love to play drums on your record. And I thought, oh my God, like, really? Okay, well, let's go. And so he did. And so it was so cool because, you know, I got him to do a couple of videos, and they're posted. You can see them online. But what he said he would do is that he would learn the songs from start to finish, and he would play them from start to finish. And so he would do, you know, once he had woodshedded the songs and whatever, he would play them from front to back, because he said, quote unquote, I want this to sound like a band, not like a session. And he said, I want to justify that to the music. And I thought, you don't have to justify anything to me, but okay, that's pretty awesome. So that's what he did. And, you know, the results are, he's superhuman, really. And so we got along, it seemed, and he was super nice and very enthusiastic. So I thought, let's hit him up and asked him about a singer. So he connected me with Marc, one of his friends from Dragon Choir and various other things. And again, you know, Marc just hit it out of the park with this. Like, it's, you know, it's not what I envisioned. You know, I envisioned Randy Blythe, you know, with the growl or something like that on this record. And Marc is not that. It's like having Daryl Hall sing a Tool song. Like, it works though. Like, I love it. And it isn't what I expected, and it isn't what I planned. But sometimes when you let it go, that's what you get, is something surprising. So in a good way this time. So, because Marc was spectacular. So the album kind of proceeded from there. And, you know, Jason was supposed to play bass on all the songs, and personal commitments, he couldn't do it. So he connected me with Bryan, who was, you know, Aristocrats and Dethklok. And, you know, he did his own solo thing last year, Scenes from a Flood, which is, you know, 26 songs, 24 songs with all these players. It's just, you know, a magnum opus, a monstrosity. And he's he's literally the nicest guy on the planet, I think. And he was very supportive and very keen. And you hear his bass parts, so, you know, Sorceress and Steelier, like, it really pushes the song. And he did such a great job. And again, you know, I had composed some very complicated bass part for one of those songs. And, you know, I sent it to him, and he goes, yeah, you know, good job, but it doesn't work. And there's too many guitar parts, and there's too much drums, and there's too much going on, and I'm going to simplify the bass parts, if that's okay. if you want me to do the other, I will. But, you know, and it turns out, of course, he was right. But hurt my feelings a little bit. But, you know, he did an absolutely spectacular job. And I can't thank all these guys, really. And Jason, Henrie, and as well. You know, he played bass on four songs and just killed it. He's a Geddy Lee protege. He's just crazy good and a lot of fun. So that was how that kind of came about. The songs, really, you know, they vary. And usually, you know, when I write lyrics, it's because I'm mad about something. I have something I've read in the news or a person that's pissed me off or whatever. And that's kind of where the lyrics tend to come from. But I always try and bury them in some sort of metaphor because I don't want to be overt about anything, and try and make it more of like a more poetic, I guess you could say. And, you know, I wrote them all. Sorceress was written by a friend of mine, Steve Krause, and he's very verbose. So, you know, I took his words and I boiled them down a little bit, but it's such a great song. And the way that Marc delivered it was spectacular as well. So I'm very, very happy with not only the words, but also how they came out. Really great job from all these guys. Cover artwork. So the cover is a dude or girl, maybe, sitting in front of a computer screen with the spiral on it. And I think that's, you know, symbolic of all of our lives, really, for the last year. You know, it's my life. I'm in my room here, my music room, and this is me in front of the computer all the time. And even, you know, being in contact with these other guys, you know, they're in front of their computers doing the same thing. So, you know, that's the world. And Project Cipher is, you know, sort of a pandemic album, really. And I don't know that I would have been able to make it like this, you know, without the pandemic, because these guys were at home, not doing anything, or doing a lot less, I suppose. Thomas is a teacher and all that sort of thing, so he was actually busier. So he managed to get this done for me regardless of that, which I still can't believe. But yeah, that's the cover. Sorry, I'm just reading the questions to make sure I answer everything. New albums that I like, yes, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of everything and all kinds of things. And so, you know, recently, the new Gojira album I love those guys. Like, they're so honest, and I love their whole vibe and the music as well. It's awesome. Cannibal Corpse, their new album is, I think they got a new guitar player, because there seems to be more like riffs and chords than just the straight bludgeoning, typical Cannibal Corpse type stuff. So I thought that was a really good album. It's not that new, but the Opeth record, Incauda Venenum, I thought was out of this world. I'm a huge Opeth fan, and I met Mike Ackerfeld, and he was such a great guy, and Freddie and Axe and all those guys. I think they're fantastic. Tool, you know, you waited how many years for Tool to come out, so it finally came out. I wasn't sure at first, but you know, I love Tool, so it was good. Our local music scene sucks, I guess. You know, we're a karaoke town. People love people standing in the corner singing Neil Young songs or something like that. We did have a club here. I'm not sure how they fared out with COVID and all that, but called The Asylum, which was really great. They really supported a lot of metal bands and all kinds of alternative stuff. It was a very, very good place. Like, we played there quite a bit. It was awesome. And that's about it for here. Going forward, I'd like to, you know, right now, Project Cipher was a virtual record. I don't have a band sitting here right now, but I'd like to do that. I'd like to play again, assemble some guys, and I seem to be getting some traction in the world, and maybe that'll help me gather some players to do this again. I've also recently signed with Wormhole Death Records out of Italy, and the name might suggest some, you know, super heavy stuff, and I think that's what they've been known for. But Carlo, the owner, seems very keen on this, and maybe a step towards diversity in his roster. So I'm very, very grateful for that, and looking really forward to how that's going to play out. And I've got another record written. So as soon as, you know, this thing is, you know, past its whatever that is, and you know, I'll put the put that back on the rails. And why does metal rule? I try to explain this to people who don't listen to metal or don't understand metal, but they don't get it. And, you know, metal is the most diverse and technical and most, you know, challenging. And you can't really say enough. It's brutal and beautiful all at the same time. And there's so many different variations and genres and everything else. And it's such a, you know, there really is nothing like it. And there's no feeling in the universe like standing in front of a cranked Marshall. There is nothing like that. And that's why metal rules. Thanks for having me.